This is the playthrough of my prototype for Handheld Games Design. As you can see straight away from getting in the level that the counter for the score is going up slowly and goes up every 3 seconds. It was chosen to go up every 3 seconds so people won't be able to cheat and just sit and wait and let the score go up. As you can see as well, you can see two movement sticks. One lets you move the character strafing left and right, forwards and backwards, and depending on how much you move the stick backwards and forwards will depend how quickly and how slowly he moves. The other stick lets you rotate the character, and the same again, the more that you bring the stick to the outside, the more that the character moves around. For the demo, however, being on PC, I will be using the WASD keys to move just for ease. As you can see up here as well, there are two buttons. The blue button was meant to do the jump, which allowed the player to jump at a high distance, but that never worked in the end, but was kept in to see if I could fix it at a later date. And the big red button was here to test the firing, and the firing does work, but it was taken out really because it was no longer needed. So let's get on with the level. So basically the player is able to go up the stairs and then you can see the beginning. So this was obviously done to make sure that they could kind of get grasp on what they're actually meant to be doing and see where they can sort of hide. And once they obviously drop down, they're not meant to be able to get back up again. Once you drop down, you can see that they're already starting to fire, so you have to quickly get out of the way. And as you can see up here, the health is being displayed. Now the health will be green if it's above 30% health, but if it goes below 30% health, the text will actually change to red to give a clear indication to the player that they need to get health. Because the whole game was meant to be kind of like a reverse tower defense, it meant that they had to stay out of the way, and I've died. We'll do that again. As you can see again, just to double check that the counter is going up and does start going up from the beginning. There is a trigger here that you won't be able to see that basically triggers this turret, and when it does trigger this turret, it does a action where it will basically trace the player and then fire 15 bullets, and after 15 bullets the actual turret will turn itself off, and that was just another way of doing a slightly different turret, but it was also to make it easier to begin with, so you'd only have to deal with a few turrets back here and not have to worry about this one as well. And when you do go into the trigger for the start of the game, it does actually increase the score by 100 to give the player more points. So as you can see, it's actually gone up and it's firing all the bullets, and these will trace the player. Just for the run through, I'm going to stick God mode on just so I can show everything that's been done, and then I will do a run through to actually show that you can do it just about. So as you come through here, you can see that the turrets are actually only firing when the player is being seen. If the player is not seen, then the turrets will stop firing, and this was one of the issues that needed to be fixed, because to begin with the actual turrets would just keep firing. The player would have to run around and dodge to make sure that he doesn't get hit, which is doable, but you have to keep moving. And to make it harder but also more interesting, to be able to gain extra points, you could also collect these, and these would basically allow you to grab extra points, and then once you got out of the line of sight again, you was able to obviously not get hit anymore. And health files were also left on the ground to be able to give the player more chance to be able to get through the level. obviously the whole idea of the game is a reverse tower defense, so you're actually the enemy that is trying to get to the base. And if you're in first person view in a tower defense game, you would be in a scenario like this. You probably wouldn't have cover, but you were able to sort of go around the map and dodge the towers and try and get as far as you possibly can. These towers will all trace the player and only shoot again when the player is able to be found, so they have to run through and try and skip. In here is a big pile of health, and that was put there basically for balance, to allow the player to be able to get past basically to get past this part, because there are a lot of turrets and the difficulty is increasing on quite a steep learning curve, that it allowed the player to sort of adapt a bit better. And then the player would be able to leave and run around here to be able to stop these turrets from being able to get them. Next, the player is able to go near the end, and this is where they can actually take a shortcut and go through the back, which meant that they're able to cut out that other turret and basically run through to the end. If they didn't take that shortcut, they would have to come up against this turret as well. And these turrets only start firing once the trigger here is activated. And basically what they do is they follow a straight path, and then they just hit the walls. And even though it's easy for the player to sort of get past, to make it harder, some traceable ones are also put in as well, so they'd have to stay out of the way of the traceable bullets and then get towards the end. And then once they got to the end, they'd be able to be completed, really. For the sake of the prototype, it doesn't actually end here, because the conditions for winning hadn't been set, but this would either continue on and you'd face more turrets, more enemies, and then you'd get to the base, and if you got to the base, eventually you'd be able to take the base's health down, and then ideally from past the prototype you'd then be able to respawn back to the start as a new character and then be a soldier again trying to get back to the base, and then this would enable you to have that sort of tower defense feel where you are controlling the characters to try and get towards the base to take the base health down. And the way that it would work is that the player would have a certain amount of lives, which would represent the spawnable enemies in the tower defense game, and if they can get enough enemies through, they'd be able to kill the base in the overall game. So that is my prototype. You saw a few different turrets, some different mechanics, some different ways of attacking the player. The player had to think on his feet and look at the strategy. Thanks for watching.